everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Gini and I run Hook and Yarn by Gini, a crochet business. So I specialise in amigurumi and I love all things crochet. Today is going to be a chat and crochet and chat. I have a bit of a story to tell you. So we're going to get straight into it. I'll tell you what I'm making. I'm going to crochet while we do so. I have decided that I'm going to make like little potted plant, like we're going to call them like, I'm going to make little potted plants and I'm calling them like I'm not sure yet, like potted pals? Pot pals? I'm not sure what I'm calling them yet. So we'll do that. And I'm going to tell you all about my worst ever market. I can't get my hair to do what hair should do. Like, I don't know why it's being the way it's being. Anyway, as you can see, I have chopped all my hair off. There was a reason for this. I've always had long hair. Now, you'll know by now that I struggle with my mental health. And when I am in like depressive and lower episodes, I sort of like my self-care goes out the window first. So like brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, and it had got to the point last week where I had to cut some knots out of my hair. So I thought, you know what I'm gonna do? Just gonna cut it all off. I feel like it's really dark in here. I'm gonna open the blind. I closed it because I thought you couldn't see me very well. Maybe I'm just not close enough to the camera. Let's get a bit closer. Let's get up close and personal. Oh, we're meant to be crocheting, aren't I? So, let's move you down a bit so you can see me. Ignore behind me. I think in my last video I mentioned that we're moving my little boys' rooms round. They're getting toddler beds this week. And their chest of drawers, which is behind me now, which wasn't there beforehand. We couldn't leave it in there because there wasn't any room, and also the back leg was broken. So because they were able to get in toddler beds, they can get out of their bed. We couldn't have a broken chest of drawers in there. They don't come in here, so it's in there now, and all my clothes are in there, but everything's still being organised because we're just doing bits in between life. So let's move you down so you can see. Let me tell you all about my absolutely awful market that I had last week. So last week, I meant yesterday, basically. So I'll start by saying that the people, I'm not going to name anyone in this video because it's not like, you know, the people that run it, I think are just essentially a group of people like me that had their own stalls and couldn't find enough events. So they decided to make a organisation that put on events. Now, they are in the old town I used to live in. Sorry, I have yarn wrapped around my ankle. So I had done a few markets with them when I lived there, and then haven't since I got pregnant and had the boys. I've been trying to get a market booked in every weekend, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm still okay to do their markets even though I don't live there. And yep, got approved, signed up for this market in that town, and that town's about 30 minutes away from me, so it's really not that far. Anyway, so I'm going to start by making sure this is very heard. In the booking form they sent me, as I'm assuming they sent everyone, it specifically says about duplicate stalls. It says, we will try our best not to duplicate stalls, however, someone may bring similar items to you. If we find this is the case, we will ask them to remove them after they've not been approved. I took that as, we're not going to approve any two of the same stall. If we see someone that said they're selling cards and they bring crochet, we'll ask them to move them. Great. So, yeah, signed the contract, whatever, booking form, sent it in, went to the market. Now, we got there, and it was, like, immediately very disorganised. There was no one to pinpoint and be like, I should go to that person. So I just got there and asked the nearest stall holder, like, hi, where do I go? What do I do? Now, another thing important to mention, when I actually booked this, I said, do you know how much space we'll have? Because I was bringing a gazebo, and I like to ideally have my table's in an L shape facing out of the gazebo, so people don't have to come in because it's sunny weather. And they said that they weren't sure on space, but they'd let me know. They didn't let me know, so I thought, you know what, I'll just ask when I get there. It genuinely isn't that big of a deal. My problem isn't with the thing. So we got there. I asked the stall holder that I first saw. I just said, hey, I don't know where I'm meant to go. Do you know who's in charge? And then she was like, oh, that lady in the yellow over there. So I went over and was like, hi. Didn't get a hello. She just turned around and was like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, it's Hook and Yarn by Gini. It's Georgina. And she was like, right, you're over here. So I said, hey, do you know yet if I'm going to have enough space to face my tables out? And she very abruptly just went, this is your space. I don't really care how you do it. You just do what you do. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. It doesn't bother me. I can have it either way. I just didn't like the way that was spoke to, but I brushed it off and thought, you know what, no, it's busy, she looks stressed, I'll get over it. So then I sat down, set up, it was great. The event starts and I'm looking around and I'm like, that looks like Crochet across from me. So the way it was in a car park. So there was two car parks, car park here and a car park here. People, visitors, would park in this car park and walk that way through the market. I was here. I looked across the way and saw there was another crochet store selling exactly the same things here. So before me. So if people were coming out of the car park, they would have to walk past that crochet store to get to me. Now that's a red flag for me, because they have to look at someone else's crochet before they come to me. And it ended up being quite detrimental, and I'll get to that. And I'm not a confrontational person. And I was like, okay, just leave it. But then she came over just to put something on my table. And it just kind of like spur in the moment. I was like, oh, hi. I even was like, I'm very not, I hate confrontation. Like, I will just sit, even like with my own family and my friends, I will just sit and not say anything because I don't like people being, like, I just don't like, not being shouted at, but I just don't like it. I'd rather just sit on it. It's fine. But I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I've just noticed that there's another crochet stall here, and on the booking form, it says that there won't be. And her back went up straight away. And she goes, well, that can't be helped. And I was like, oh, I mean, it's just what the booking form says. And then she said, well, they were meant to be inside, and then I moved them outside. And I was like, okay. And again, I just went, oh, it's just in the booking form. And she went, well, it can't be helped. And then she left. And I felt really, like, uncomfortable, like, the way she spoke to me. I was already in a bit of a bad mood, which I know didn't help. And I was just a bit like, okay. Anyway, then the day went on. There was literally no footfall, like, at all. At about 12 o'clock, I sold a mini duck for £6. Anyway, and then it was just a bit like, oh, God, it's really, really quiet. What's going on? They had a brass band. They were playing the most depressing songs. I even heard, like, I'd say throughout the entire 6 hours the event was open, we had maybe 50 members of the public, and that's at a stretch. I openly heard people walking past, and one woman was like, Jesus, are the band gonna play anything nice? And I was like, oh, this is really bad. There was meant to be bouncy castle stuff. I didn't see it anywhere. Supposedly it was around the corner, but you couldn't see that from the road, and there was no signage. So, like, people just weren't coming in. It was quite out of the way. I thought there'd be more marketing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to accept this is going to be a bad day. I paid £25 for the stall. I was like, if I make that back, it's fine. It just is what it is, isn't it? But then it got to the point where there was nobody. I'm talking, like, people, like, stall holders were walking up and down, like, where is anybody? And then a man came over to me, and he was on a stall over the other end. And he was like, I'm going. I've not sold anything. It was like 1, 2 o'clock at this point. The event was going on till 5. He was just like, I've not sold anything. I'm going to go home. And I was like, fair enough. So I've done markets before where in the forms, it will specifically say, please do not pack up early. And I understand why some events have this. And the gist of it is that if you're seen packing up early, members of the public might think that the event is ending and therefore not come in. That doesn't apply to this because there was nobody there. So he started packing away, and I was like, Anyway, and then another lady came up to me from another stall. She said, oh, how are you doing? And I said, oh, I only made about £6. I'm thinking about packing up maybe in like an hour or so. So maybe at like 3-4 o'clock, an hour or so before the event finished, because no one was there. At this point, there was 2 other stalls packing away as well. That's really important to know. Anyway, about 10-15 minutes after this, a different lady that was running the event came up to me. But she sort of like, she came and hovered. I'm not even doing this. She came and hovered over my stall. And I was like this. Okay. And then she literally, like, up, like, probably like this far away from my face, like here. She went, "Are you packing away?" And I was like, I'm thinking about it in the next hour or so. And she went, "Well, we're here till 5. And I was like, okay, you know, I get that, but there's nobody here and I've got children at home. Like, it was a lovely day. And in my head, I was like, there's nobody here. People are already packing up. There is no clause in the form that says we are not allowed to leave early. So I was like, oh, I could be at home in the garden with my children. It's a weekend. You know, Monday comes around, my partner goes back to work. I was like, I want to go home. She went, "Well, we're here till 5. And I was like, okay, but there's nobody here. And then she stormed off. I genuinely felt really intimidated. And she hadn't spoken to any of the other stalls that were packing away. It was just me. Whether they'd done that because they'd spoken to me early in the day, I don't know. I genuinely felt like really singled out and targeted. And I was just sat there and I was just like, the girl next to me, bless her, was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah," I explained what happened. And she was like, "I just don't understand." Like, and I didn't understand. And in the end, I started packing away at about 3 o'clock. But at this point, 3 other people had already gone home, and there was the stall next to me packing up as well. And nobody said a single word to any of those people. And I was just like, why me? Like, why me? Little pause. So I'm doing a cactus. And I don't know whether to put the eyes on the cactus or on the pot. Maybe I'll make the pot now and then we'll find out. Anyway, so yeah, I was just like, I didn't know what's going on. So anyway, I got Will to come pick me up and I went home. I didn't say bye because I genuinely just felt like I don't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to cry. Like, when she was up in my face, I'm a sensitive soul and I'm a big crier. And this is another reason why I hate confrontation, because any emotion I have comes out in the form of tears. And I wish I could change it. And honestly, sometimes I find it quite embarrassing, because sometimes I'm like, I'm not trying to get like attention. I'm not trying to make people sympathetic. I just can't stop it. So I tend to just don't argue with people because I don't want to cry. So I just went home. So I got in the car. I was talking to my partner on the way home. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask for a refund. Like, so basically with the layout, people were going to their first crochet stall, buying something, going to me and going, "Oh, I didn't know you were here. We've just bought something from the other stall." And that's why I specifically don't do markets that have the other crochet stall. So I emailed. I've not even started. I emailed. Well, I sent them. It was on Facebook. That's why they do all their stuff on Facebook. So I sent them a message. I spent like hours drafting it. I was just looking for an end. Yeah, and I explained what happened. And the reason I'm not naming them is because, like I say, they are just people that have set this up for other people. However, if you are taking somebody's money, that transaction has expectations. Now, as a seller paying money to an organizer, there are a lot of expectations that I have, and the expectations, the main one being, you follow what's in your booking form. 6, 8, 9, I'm gonna go 10. So I emailed last night, and I'm so anxious. So I literally sent it and then was like, no, I want to take it back. But it's too late. And I just said, like, I just would like a refund, please, of the fee. You know, I won't be doing any more events with you now, unfortunately. Blah blah blah. And in my head, I was like, okay, I'm expecting them to come back with an argument. And then in my head, because I'm a big stressor, I was like, I will only go back again with one more defence. And then I'm just going to call it £25 as much as it's £25 that I need, it's not that big of a deal. It's not worth me stressing all night over. However, in fair play to them, they came back straight away and said, we're really sorry you felt that way. We didn't mean to make you feel that way. They didn't really offer an explanation, just that they didn't mean to make me feel that way. They did say that, you know, you can't control footfall. And again, I know this. I've been to so many markets that have had similar outcomes, but I've never felt the way that I did at that market. And then they said, we'll refund you. So I said, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a nice night. They sent the refund, and then I panicked and blocked them. Mainly because I was like, it was from my personal Facebook, which again, I don't like, and now I know going forward that I don't want to speak people on my personal Facebook. I've got pictures of my children on there. It's probably got a lot of my personal information on there, and I thought, you know, these are people that I've probably pissed off, to be quite honest, and I don't want them like taking any further so I blocked them and just said, like, enough is enough. I'm not going to do any markers with them again. I'm not going to see them again. It's fine. But I'm still stressed about it now, and it's been 24 hours. And then, while I was at the market, I made a video on TikTok, and it was literally just me at my stall, and like I just captioned it, is there anything worse than doing a market with another crochet stall after you were promised no duplicates, right? I thought nothing of it, because it's just, like, at the end of the day, it was like a joke. It was like, oh, it's really annoying, you know, it's just content. I went to sleep last night, it was on about 2k, 3k views, fine. Higher than average, I'll take it. Anyway, woke up this morning, and it's on 60k views. And full of hate comments. Now, listen, I'm 27 next month. I have been on the internet long enough to know that you take whatever said on the internet with a pinch of salt. However, I'm also a very sensitive girl. I'm autistic, I've got ADHD. I'm an emotional girly. And I'm not going to lie and say that he didn't get to me. But yeah, it's just been a bit stressful this morning. So I woke up and I was like, oh, that's a lot of notifications. And essentially it's just people saying that my stuff's not very good. People saying like it's basic, you know. I had a few people saying that I buy them off Temu. I clearly don't. People were just saying like, what do you expect? No one will pay for anything like that. I wouldn't pay £20 for a fucking bumblebee. And some of them made me laugh because they're just very bold. And I wasn't going to reply at first because I don't want to give people the satisfaction. However, for me, it wasn't really about that. I'm not going to lie and say my stuff is unique. It's not. It's what thousands of other crochet plushie makers sell. That doesn't make it a bad thing. You know, I've been doing markets now for 3 years, and I've been doing it long enough to know what my target audience likes. You know, sometimes I'll try a product like this, and if it sells great, brilliant, I'll make some more. But then sometimes it doesn't sell, so I'll stop making them. So the things that you see at my markets are more than likely things that people want to buy. There are the odd occasion like this market, and there have been a few others where I haven't sold much. And it can be a combination of things. It can be not my target audience. It could have been low footfall, the weather. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I sell out all the time. I don't. And I know my things aren't unique. I use patterns from Pinterest. I take ideas from TikTok. But I do write my own patterns. I don't resell from Temu. I can sometimes spend 60 to 70 hours a week in this chair making things, and it's not because I have to. I genuinely just want to. I love it, you know. And not only that, is that I built this business from the ground. You might not like what I sell, that's fine. You're not my target audience. But what I won't have is people coming for my hard work. I lost jobs repeatedly for my chronic illnesses, and when I discovered crochet, I discovered something I love, which is brilliant, because I never had something that I really felt like that about. But not only that, but I discovered something that would actually mean I don't lose my independence, because my other option is not working at all and claiming disability allowance and things like that. But I don't want to do that. I want to earn my own money. You know, I'm independent. I like to be independent. I want to work. And this is the way that I've found to do it. And it also means I get to stay at home with my children. But I work so hard. We get up at 7 o'clock, and then we do breakfast, and then we do like playing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that going out to do a normal job is not hard work. What I'm saying is that I stay at home with the children, I do all of that, the housework, keeping after the children. So my partner gets home from work about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then we switch, and then I come here and I work full-time hours. I am doing it all. I go to bed at 1-2 a.m. in the morning every single night, and I am absolutely exhausted, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I genuinely love what I do, and I won't sit back while I just let people slam that. So yeah, that was just kind of the story I wanted to tell you today. And literally as we're talking, I'm getting notifications through from TikTok that people are commenting on it. I thought about deleting it, but then I was like, no, I've got every right to react the way that I did. I'm not going to be ashamed of that. So yeah, I've got another market next week, and I guess the good thing is that I don't have any stock to make. So all my usuals are topped up. Like I say, I sold one mini duck. So I don't need to do anything. It just means now that I can try out some new stuff like this, which I don't get time to do actually. Normally I just have to focus on what I do all the time, because that's what I can fit in with the time that I've got. However, now I can be like, hey, let's make something new. And it's nice to have a bit of time to myself. So yeah, the moral of the story is don't listen to dickheads on YouTube. No, TikTok. You YouTube people are so kind to me. Am I allowed to swear on YouTube? Well, I am. So yeah, that's the moral of the story. Generally, I haven't got much done while we've been chatting because I've literally just done nothing but chat. Yeah. I am, I think, going to make another market prep video this week, but I'm trying to get ahead of my YouTube content because at the moment it's taking me like over a week to edit my videos, which means that my videos aren't coming out regularly, they're coming out sporadically. And what I'd like to do is have a set day where they come out, but I need to be, I think, a few weeks ahead to keep doing that. So this is literally just going to be it for this video, and I apologise if you don't like that kind of stuff. However, I do think I do market prep videos every week, and I worry that people might get a little bit bored. So this is just kind of like a one-off. It gives me another week to catch up on my editing, and yeah, that's kind of like it really. So I am going to end this video here. So thank you for watching. Thank you for basically being my therapist. Let me know in the comments if you think I did the right thing. Because don't get me wrong, there were moments where I was like, am I being a little bit dramatic? But at the end of the day, I'm a business. And this was especially on the leaving thing. There wasn't a clause in the form. But also, I am a grown woman. I will not be spoken to the way that I was spoken to. And also, it's my business. I am allowed to leave when I want to leave. Like, you can't stop me from leaving. So maybe being in a bad mood maybe contributed to the way I took what was said. However, the fact that other people had noticed, the fact that no one else was singled out apart from me, I don't think I was bang out of order. I got the refund. Do I just move on? I'm just going to move on, and we'll start prepping for next week. We'll start prepping for next week's market, which I say this every single time. It should be a good one. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know in the comments what you think, and also let me know in the comments if there's any specific content you would like to see. Bye.